There's an electromagnetic wave that is the foundation of everything, of all mass, of everything. Like some people call it 0-point energy. Some people call it the vacuum energy. But like 1 inch of air could power the United States for like hundreds of years, kind of thing, or maybe more. So what they got to do is isolate very specific atoms to where all the noise of all matter and cell phones and everything that's going on Earth can be separated from this one atom. And if you can do that with the right material, you can get access to that electromagnetic wave that's powering the atom, the invisible wave pattern that's under everything of all existence. And once you do that, it's not like splitting an atom. This is the power behind the atom. It's extraordinarily dangerous, but it's also what will turn that thing on, and it'll turn into a ball of light and just disappear.
And going back to Bob and that technology, I want to know your opinions of when we look at the petrodollar and fossil fuels and the way that the world runs today, and the knowledge that the government possesses and potentially possesses that could free us of all of that. Is that why aren't they releasing at least something to relieve not only the fossil fuels, and I know money that's involved, but it would relieve pollution, and a lot of poor people around the world would have energy and so forth that they wouldn't be able to have. You know, why not let that technology go? What's your opinion?
I don't have an opinion. I have the truth. I know why.
And
there's 2 reasons.
Okay.
There's 2. Number 1 reason is, how do you think we finance the defense for this subject? We need all the help we can get. The second reason is the technology itself is not hidden from us. It's not hidden from the people that are paying for it. It's not hidden from you and I, and because people want to like hoard the patents. Who do you think it's hidden from? The UFO. They don't want the UFO to know what we've accomplished. It's a game.
Interesting.
And people got to get off their soapbox and think that all these conspiracies point to people ripping them off of money, ripping them off of knowledge, or it's all ego-based dumb stuff that these guys have no time to deal with. You know, they're dealing with something that's hard enough as it is, and they don't need to stop and come to your living room and saying, I'm not trying to make it hard at the gas pump for you. You know, it's like
when you use the technology, there's a time difference between what they're doing inside of an artificially created bubble of gravity of sorts, and then what's on the outside. So if you're on the inside of one of those machines, everything would be skewed more black and white. There would be like a red shift, and everybody would look frozen. So you literally could fly around and grab a Coke out of someone's hand and put it in someone else's hand. It's really...
Where are you getting this from?
Well, take a wild guess. Look at the people I'm surrounded by, you know.
So the people you're surrounded by are telling you this? Is that what it is?
Well, I don't want to get into that, but the people I'm surrounded with and myself, you know, are very close to this stuff. But the physics, you know, the physicist that's a co-founder of my company, To the Star, he's a Nobel nominee. He wrote the book on plasma physics.
What's his name?
Hal Puthoff, Dr. Hal Puthoff. And he created remote viewing. Do you know what remote viewing is?
Yeah.
He's the creator of the CIA psychic spy program, but he also has done like really exotic, advanced forefront propulsion work for the past decades and decades, actually. I mean, he's deep into the like quantum this and that. So he's the one that actually told me about the redshift. And I got what you would call interrogated for 2 days straight, saying, we need to know who the fuck you are. You know shit you shouldn't know. And
what specifically should you not have known?
The book, what's in the book, everything I've been telling you today. When you're dealing with, there is a concerted international effort to deal with this stuff, and that was in my book. And it's not like Roswell crashed, and it was not like, you know, like all the typical UFO shit that people dwell on isn't the story. It's just that there's something crashed, or someone got abducted and saw this, or someone pulled a little piece of metal out of their body, but no one's put together what we're doing about it. Because our countrymen since World War II aren't stupid.
What set them off, though? Like, what was the thing that you said that you should not have known?
In my book, it is my belief that we have an incredible, we've made incredible strides creating assets to deal with this stuff. That's my belief, and I'm not speaking for my company. This is just me
assets.
Speaking. Yeah.
Mean some sort of a government agency that's been designed or put together. International?
International.
Okay, so some sort of an international collaboration to deal with the threat of alien life. And that was enough that they pulled you aside and wouldn't let you go for 2 days and just interrogated you?
So it was it was an interrogation, but it was a pretty heavy debriefing of how I got to where I was. And it's not like they didn't let me go home. This took place at a hotel near my home.
But they made you sit down and talk to them.
Oh, fuck yeah. There was 6 of them, I think. This is the Craft and Secret Machines book. That's all I'm going to say.
And this thing is floating in the air.
It'll take a few seconds till they turn on the engine.
Wow, that looks pretty badass.
Oh, wait. You can see little lights dancing around on the bottom. But I think this was leaked on purpose because the guy's making it just hard enough to see, moving the camera around in and out of focus.
Yeah, right? Like it's got he's barely focusing. Boy, that looks like a drone.
Well,
it looks small too.
It's not. That's pretty big. I would think that one's about 40 feet.
Really?
Look, see the tail fins on the back? That's how you know it's not alien per se. It's built off, I think, technology that came from there, but, you know, they don't need vertical tail stabilizers.
What's that big light? Okay,
this is the engine. They turn it on. So right now they're accessing that energy I told you about. Now, and watch what happens. It's gone. There's a pilot in that.
If that was in a movie, I'd want my money back. Here we go.
Is in the top of the reactor. And the base of the reactor apparently is a small, something similar to a cyclotron. It's a particle accelerator. A particle is accelerated to high speed and then deflected up a small tube, and it's aimed at the 115. This transmutes the 115, similar to the way we do that in a normal particle accelerator. This causes a reaction, a radiation emission that we really haven't seen before. It produces antimatter. This antimatter is guided down a tuned tube and reacts with a gas. When matter and antimatter react, they convert to 100% energy. This energy is converted, heat energy, is converted to electrical power in the reactor itself. This is done through a thermoelectric converter. And this electrical power is used to power other subsystems on the craft, though there is no wiring, you know, as we would know it. Also, that's almost a byproduct of the reactor. The reactor also sets up a gravitational wave from the 115 being bombarded. This gravitational wave is present at the top of the reactor and is essentially guided in the same way microwaves are guided through tuned tubes. And this goes to their amplifying cavities and through the projectors that are in the bottom of the craft.
God, I wish I was smart enough to know whether or not he's full of shit.
Well, so what he's saying is that there's a gravity wave that's accessible on a really large element that extends beyond the perimeter of the atom. And when you bombard that element with one particle, kind of like what we were talking about before, it goes through a tuned tube, like a very tiny miniature CERN. CERN's like a big magnet. It holds a particle in a very specific spot. It hovers. It shoots and it hits that. It decays. It becomes this matter-antimatter reaction. These generators can convert all that energy into power, and then they can amplify that wave that's coming off and emanating from that element. And they amplify it like you would amplify a radio wave. Now, there's no wires in the craft because most likely it was 3D printed. We didn't know about 3D printing back then. I've talked to Bob about this, but not just 3D printing, you know, just the materials, but atomically aligning the elements so consciousness and other types of things can move through those materials to operate the craft. It's really
so
tricky.
They're operating it without buttons.
Right.
They're operating it. So that was one of the things that he said theoretically, right?
Yeah.
Was that there was handprints and that they were much different shaped hands than ours.
Yeah.
And this craft that he had found inside one of these bays in Area 51, he realized very quickly that it wasn't something that we had created, and that it was somehow or another powered through intention.
Yep.
That would go through like touch or feel, or their hands would be on this thing, and consciously you would somehow or another control all the various aspects of this machine.
Exactly.
The big defense contractor that does all the UFO stuff, like for the military and the government, is in La Jolla. And out in front of their building, they have 2 8-foot-tall Egyptian statues, and one is holding a pyramid in his hand, and it says the past, and one's holding a pyramid in his hand, and it says the future. And they're big bronze statues in front of this company. In this company, I have on one of these tapes a girl testifying how they put billions of dollars or millions of dollars into UFO-related programs, and they create them, and they're fake. So when they get audited by the General Accounting Office of the United States government, it just looks like all the money's going into fucking more helicopters, but it's really going into like UFO-related programs. And there's Egyptians in front of the building, dude holding pyramids and saying the past and the future. I have people from the government talking about aliens. They're fucking real.
Something you got to realize is, for example, the 6th biggest defense contractor in the world, at least they used to be 6, is a company called Science Applications International Corporation, SAIC. Their headquarters are actually in San Diego, and in the front of the building, you have an obelisk coming out of a fake lake and 2 Atlantean on thrones, and they're both holding pyramids, and one says the past and one says the future. And they're 8-foot tall statues. It's fucking nuts, by the way.